coming to you from the Focus ST 1320 chick. It's only appropriate that you're actually doing this from a car. I don't know if you set that up on purpose or not.
No, so it was a weird day in the office. So like working at Motor Trend for me is very odd because like one day I'll go in and my calendar, I'll have 0 meetings, and then by the end of the day I'll have 10, which is fun. Like I hate sitting being bored, but then at the same time, like I can't really plan anything.
Can we talk about Motor Trend and some of that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So I'm bringing an audience from other shows I've produced and co-host and stuff. So they maybe this is the first time maybe they're hearing from you, and they didn't listen to my previous podcast or anything. So I want to kind of go and just lead with the question I've been asking my first dozen guests, which is basically, how have the last 10 years or so treated you?
Oh, amazingly, and they only got better as I got older. I've been all over the place when it comes to work and careers. I started at a dealership. I knew I wanted to be in automotive, but I knew I didn't want to draw cars. Like being in Detroit, like the option is you either work at a dealership or you draw cars. And I can draw. I do draw and paint a lot. I just knew I didn't have the creativity to draw vehicles. So I started to go to school for actual architecture, and math and I don't really get along. I'm only on the creative side of artistic things. So I decided to get into marketing, and I thought there's got to be more to marketing than what there is. I was like, the automotive industry to me, I feel like is so boring when it comes to marketing. And then as I was in school, I started researching more and looking at that kind of stuff more, and I fell in love with Dodge. Dodge is marketing. You gotta admit, even if you hate Dodge through and through, their marketing's cool. They got minivans doing burnouts and this doing a burnout, and it's always been very fun. And me being a diehard Ford person, I always looked at it and I'm like, God, Fords could be so much cooler. So it's been like my life's goal to try to get to Ford and redo their marketing. And I was at Ford for a year doing marketing, and I left because I got headhunted by Motor Trend.
Dude, that's amazing. So I got to give this quick backstory real quick. So when I first found out were you were called 1320 chick even back then, right? Probably like 7 years ago.
Yeah, I probably just had switched my username. So at first I was Mustang Chick.
Right,
and then
that's right.
Yep, and then I got the CTS, so I was like, well, I can't really be Mustang Chick, and then I wanted something that was like a little bit more generic.
So that CTS-V is what coincidentally, man, at the time, and I still love the wagons, which I believe your husband had a wagon at the time. You had the 4-door.
Yep.
Right. And a friend of yours, and it just flooded to me. I think Liam was his name. That was doing videos to you guys, and there was a series called CTSV Things, and I was fascinated by the whole thing, the way it was put together and shot, and the camaraderie and the cars themselves. And I binge watched. I don't remember how many episodes it was, but it was so cool. And shortly after that, I just reached out and I was like, "Yo, like I'd love to have you on the podcast to just talk about what you guys are doing." And I think you may have actually sold a car shortly after that. Funny enough.
Yeah. I miss Liam being here. He moved out of Michigan to Kentucky. I think he's in Kentucky or Tennessee. Back in 19, like right after we got married. So he hasn't been. Sorry, I keep getting strange calls right now. He hasn't been up this way in a while, and I miss him for that. Like, I wish that we had done YouTube and stuff when he was around to like get guidance from him. We started our own shortly after that when I got the Mustang. But he's a fantastic editor. Like he has just an eye for it in such a way that I was like, I'll never, like, my standards are Liam, and then I'm down here. So I'm like, I never want to like do anything because my standards are set so high from like what he was able to do.
Yeah. And from that time when we had that podcast, so I remember it was a really good conversation, and you were much more of a reserved person, even doing that podcast, which wasn't even video at the time. I was just doing audio. We weren't living in this shorts, reels kind of world where everything needs to be videoed and then cut into small chunks of content, right? And I'm a journalist in the sense that I love radio. So as people are driving their Focuses right now or their Mustangs, they're listening to Joe talk about whatever we're talking about. But we're doing video, and back then you didn't have a huge YouTube presence, maybe not even a huge social presence, and we would chat from time to time. And I don't remember exactly where you were working. You might have been at the dealership but if I remember correctly, you were pretty miserable doing what you were doing. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if I'm thinking correctly, when I was doing social media for a dealership, and it's tough. Like I'll never go back to doing social media or making content for someone else. It's too hard. The people who do that are they got way thicker skin than I have. I can't do it because I put a lot of even though I don't love my standard of what my editing is, I put a lot of passion in what I do. Like I put a lot of time. Like let's refix that. Let's edit this. And it was kind of right when TikToks and Reels and all that stuff was popping up. It might have been even that, but I was doing I've done content for a couple other places too. And you're like, this is the trend, it's going to hit, I'm telling you, you got to let me use this song. And by the time it goes through approvals and this person looks at it and this person's never watched a TikTok a day in their life, they're like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And then by the time where someone says, yeah, this will work, the trend's over. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to create anybody else's content. So I did like working at Ford. I didn't have any issues with it, but my offer for Motor Trend and I think the ability to grow here is just a lot different because Motor Trend's a smaller than you think. So, but there's so much that they do that I think I'll be able to move a lot more here.
So before I think, yeah, well before I had you on the podcast, this is again, keep in mind everybody that's listening, probably 6, 7 years ago, maybe more. I had interviewed Carlos Lago, who was at Motor Trend at the time, and I loved Carlos's way of doing journalism and writing and his videos that he would do for Motor Trend. And his review of the Focus ST was the reason why I bought my Focus ST. So then I got to interview him.
I remember that.
Oh my God, it was so cool, man. I think he's at where's he at? Right? Edmunds, maybe, I believe, maybe Auto Trader. I don't remember right now. But it's funny how fast forward I had
Yeah.
you on after, and now you're working for Motor Trend somehow.
And in a Focus ST.
And I was like, this full circle, and in a Focus ST. So how did the Motor Trend opportunity? How did they headhunt you, or what was the whole like? How did that door open?
So I was at a Ford event, and I was working a booth, and I got a LinkedIn message, and I never really take those things seriously because it's always some weird creep that's like, we should connect, like we could probably make something happen, and I never look at LinkedIn because it's always creeps. So for some reason, I just happened to look at it, and I got a message from someone that said she was someone at Motor Trend. And I was like, I've applied at Motor Trend probably 6 or 7 times. And I say what's even crazier is when I lived in the city that the building is in, I literally lived walking distance.
Wow.
Yeah, so I applied so many times for roles and whatnot. And so she sends me this message, and I tell her, I'm like, hey, I'm at this event in the middle of nowhere in the Smokies. I'll be home on Monday. I don't have my resume on my phone because I wasn't looking for a job. Can I get back to you in a couple days? And she goes, sure. So it was one of those things that's like, we think you'd be perfect, but we want you to apply. And every time that happens to me and I send them my resume, they're like, yeah, you aren't really a great fit. So I really didn't think anything of it. I was like, whatever, I'll just keep pushing it off. And then I got home from the event and she was like, hey, haven't heard from you. Can we have your resume? And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. So I gave her my resume and she called me 3 hours later.
Damn.
And I
That
was
let
like
that
a
be a
little
lesson
bit,
to everybody.
check your message. That's a big thing that I tell everybody. Check your messages on all your socials. You have no idea what is in your messages. Like, I have had opportunities that have gone to like request that if I hadn't just been, I try to check them every once in a while. If I hadn't, like, there's a lot of big opportunities. Sorry, my mount is moving, that I would have missed out on. So I tell all my friends that, like, I see people that have like 80 Instagram messages and I was like, look at those. Like, you don't know what could be in there or who's trying to reach out to you.
Look at this Joe that's got this attitude of just like, look, motherfucker, you need to be the go-getter. Like, don't stop slacking. Like back when you were, and this is also a testament to being able to do something you really enjoy. Because when you were doing something you didn't enjoy very much, if at all, your entire, and not just you, but everybody's demeanor is like very
Oh,
lackluster. You're not really wanting to do much. You feel unmotivated for everything.
well, also too, I accredit it to because I turned 30, and I feel like everyone says when you turn 30, you just don't care, and I feel like that's worked with it too. But yes, your job, like everyone always says, like, oh, money's not that important and money can't buy you happiness, and I'm like, I don't know about you, but what currency are you living off of? So if I'm making money, I need to be happy with what I'm doing to be able to get that money.
They're just living up hopes and dreams, man, hoping that it just pans out without any effort.
Yeah, one day. My hopes
One
and
day.
dreams aren't paying. My hopes and dreams aren't paying for my car parts, unfortunately.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
speaking of, and we'll get back to the career and the career path and all that, but I mean, since we talked, I don't think we experienced your 8 second pass, all the experiences and ups and downs with the Mustang. I think you had a couple of trucks in between. I saw like a G8, maybe two G8s, and you're like, what are you working on now, man?
Everything. So when we first started talking, you said that I had just sold the CTS, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then that means my Mustang was bone stock, like bone stock. I bought it off the showroom floor, and then we put the Whipple on it, all that. It went nines off the trailer, 970s. And then a lot of it was so the first year was really spoiling. So the first year I did 970s off the trailer, and then I did a 9.1, and I sat at 9.0 for about a year.
Damn.
And everyone's, why? I don't get it. Well, it was me. I wanted to keep my car at the power level and the boost level that it was at to be able to prove to say that I was able to do it. My car did that weighing 4,000 pounds on like 16 pounds of boost, which is literally unheard of. But that's why I wanted to do it, because one, my dad is a fantastic tuner, and two, I just wanted to be different than everybody else. Everybody can run eights on 25 pounds of boost. Nobody can run it. Not everybody can run it on 16 pounds. So that's why I had a little, not arrogance, I would say, but I wanted to say, okay,
You
sorry.
get
So it's weird. I've been driving in like the same area. So yeah, then once I got the 8, I was like, let's go all out. Like I wanted to go all out, and I didn't care. I was as much boost as possible. Break this. I don't care. Let's go. So we definitely upped it from there. So I had a couple. The only thing that stunk about the 5 years of having that car, almost 5 years of having that car, is just the years of growing pains. But then at the same time, like, I think the growing pain, and I say that because of a safety standard, like, my friend snapped an axle and she had no idea what to do. You have to pull over. You have to do this. Like, everyone wants to learn, or everyone wants to have this fast car, but everyone wants to skip the shitty part, unfortunately. Sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I encourage it. Be your authentic self. So, what was that a full interior in the car at the time?
So, yep, it's tech. Well, so now I have a Kirky, and I have the 10-point cage, and then I have a seat delete. So, and then I still have a passenger seat. So I don't know if you call that full interior, but probably not, since I don't have a back seat. But it still weighs 3950 with me in it.
Damn, that's impressive.
We've pulled weight. Like, we continue to pull weight, and that's what sucks, is every bit of weight we pull out, more goes back in. So like at sick week, like when I was doing the drag and drive in February, we pulled, I can't remember how we pulled 40 pounds. My TBM brakes, I got better drag brakes. They saved me 33 pounds across the whole thing, because I already had drag brakes on, so these were just even lighter. And then I had to put the hitch on. So the hitch was 40 pounds.
Damn, that's crazy. So, during like these growing pains, like you said, like were you getting any help from Ford or any other like big brands on the car?
Not Ford, but I was getting. I have been very lucky with this car, to get some sponsors. After my fiascos with all my drive shafts, QA1 gave me a drive shaft. G-Force helped me with axles. Um, Transmission and engine we pay for all on our own. The blower, Whipple gave me like some of the components for the blower, but just to make it better. And then we always get discounts. One of our really big sponsors is Lethal. So Lethal Performance always gives a little bit of a discount. And then Steeda has been fantastic with suspension. So they not only do they help with parts, but they're a fantastic sponsor because they help with what we need. Like they're like, oh, call us if the track isn't working, and we'll give you some adjustments for your shocks, and let's work on this together, or how the car sits, or is this tucking, is this rubbing. So like yeah, we have had a lot of help, and I'm very grateful for it.
That's awesome. And when you do all this, do you do it with a mindset of like a content creator where you're trying to get, those companies a good amount of ROI with eyeballs and your performance? Or is it one of those where they just support you because they want to see the car perform?
I think for me it's a little bit of both, but I think with me, because now that so we didn't go into Motor Trend a ton of what I do, but I have been working with influencers on some projects. I think that the industry has really changed when it comes to like influencers and content creators. Is some companies are looking, they sponsor you because they know you're. So here, let me reverse. This is how
Slow
I've been
down.
looking
Take
at.
your time. We got all kinds of time.
I'm trying to think. So this is how I look at it now as someone who picks influencers for certain projects. There are two different kinds. There's someone who makes a build to create content, and then there's someone who has a build that creates content from it. And I don't know if that makes sense, but there's like, I'll use myself as an example. My build is first. My race car is first. My racing is first. And then the videos come second. There's some people that are like, well, we got to put this. Apologize.
No, you're fine. We got to get it in. We had to work around your schedule. I'm not going to say no.
No, I appreciate it. But does that kind of, what I was saying kind of make sense? Like, I've definitely started to see that there's two different kinds of like a content creator and then like an influencer.
So is that why, like, if I go to your YouTube channel, which everybody can go and subscribe to, that 13 chick, did it in a month since you uploaded a video?
I actually took like a year and a half off from YouTube. One, my dad got sick, and I just didn't really want to put myself out there more because YouTube are the meanest comments. Like,
yeah,
after a while I get somebody that says something not very nice, and it's like, whatever. But YouTube got really sick, and somebody said something about we went to the junkyard and we found a teal SN95. What are the odds? So we went to this junkyard and we bought a door because Brian is doing the interior swap. So we wanted to be able to cut into the door to be able to see if we can get the S550 window regulators and electronics and whatever to fit in that door. Well, it was literally like $45. And I was like, oh, that's a good price. Like, this junkyard fair, like pretty fair. So this guy, I made sure to say the price, and I said, I don't know what they're going for in other places or other locations, but for us at this junkyard, it was $45, and I showed the receipt. So this guy comments, and he's like a regular, like I recognize his thumbnail and his username, and he says, he was like, wow, you two have too much money on your hands if you can just cut up $500 doors. And I was like, by the way, you must have missed in the video that I said it was a $45 door. I was like, we actually, Brian has bought part out pieces from S5 shell. We've sold pieces from S550, and we know doors on an S550 literally cost like, I don't know, $300. So I was like, you're kind of talking a premium price for, a 25-year-old car there, man. And he just, like a switch turned, and he was like, F you guys, you have too much money. No one gives a fuck nobody cares about your builds. He was like, your dad's a shitty piece of shit tuner. I can't believe he's been in business for 30 years. And I was like, I don't know who peed in your coffee, sir, or spit in your coffee or whatever, but you need to chill. I just ended up blocking him. But like, we would get something like that every once in a while. And to me, I was like, my mental health can't deal with this. I'm already dealing with enough with thinking I'm going to lose my dad. I'm not dealing. I feel like for me, I've been so blessed to have sponsors and people in my court that they don't care what my social looks like. Yeah, we want you to post, or yeah, can you tag us in something? But I don't or I don't like to work with people who specifically are like, hey, well, because your following's huge, hey, we see you're busting your ass at the track, we want to support that.
That's so cool, man. Like, so I guess let me lead into a couple of like just hypotheticals, but considering what you're doing now, like what is the ideal career path at like long term for Joe?
Honestly, I'd like to stay at Motor Trend. I think that there's a lot of room for me to grow, and I think I have some workings with the vice president. I've only been there just under a year, but I started to talk to the vice president, and I said, hey, everything that you're doing with influencers and everything that we're trying to do to content and grow and be more young, whatever, is all shit. It's all shit. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was like, you hired me because you like my personality and you like my background. So I'm going to tell you this. And so I basically came up with without giving too much of it away, I basically came up with just a way that Motrend can work with influencers in a much better way and get content in a much better way. And so he was into it. I have to represent it to a couple other people to get it like going. Hey, this influencer creator network that you create ago, do you want to manage it? I would probably stay there forever.
That's awesome. Dang, man. It's crazy because you and I, like, outside of like recording a podcast or talking about whatever on like a recording, we would have conversations about this kind of stuff. And also for people listening, like you swam through some murky waters to like get to things that you really wanted to do. Like you could have easily just got another job at a dealership or just done something remotely close to, you know, what you liked and not go for everything that you really want to. But you really did stick it out. Like there were times you weren't feeling well, you had your own personal things going on health wise, and then you just stuck to it. Like you said, fuck that, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
I appreciate that because I just don't settle. I'm like I know that I'm not going to be a full-time influencer and I'm not going to make money enough like from influencing to be able to support that. So I need to find something that pays what I need to support my race car and my husband's race car and be able to I don't want to just tolerate it. Like I want to like what I do. And I
Yeah.
do. I like Motor Trend a lot. I like the people that I'm with, and a plus of not being at Ford is I get to do Ford influencer stuff again. So like when I worked there, they're like, "Oh, it's a conflict of interest and you work here so we can't," and all that kind of stuff. And now at Motor Trend, they support it. They're like, "The Mustang, go. You want to go do this? You want to go check out with the editors? Go." Like they they are happy to let me do those kind of things.
So in a personal, so the theme of the podcast this go around is still long form, obviously conversations, but also kind of really geared around entrepreneurship and even intrapreneurs like yourself now, and then the personal development side of everything. So when you go from at the time, I guess you were in your mid 20s to now you're in your technically early 30s, what was something that you can attribute to as like a good self development helper? Like, was it a book? Was it a series? Was it just life events? Was it a mentor?
I think it was for me, honestly, therapy. And I don't think I would be where I'm at without figuring out what makes me tick.
Mm,
Because figuring out what makes you you and like I said, like not settling. Like I always knew that I wouldn't settle, but it kind of helped me to figure out like so, for example, something that I can't stand that I do is like when I'm super stressed and I start like checking things off my list. I'm like, okay, done. Okay, done. Well, I'm not stressed and I'm checking things off my list, but I feel unaccomplished because I'm not associating the accomplishment with the stress anymore. So I'm trying to work on that right now to figure out how I can knock things off my list and still feel gratified that I'm doing things without having to relate it to stress.
wow. So you actually kind of get something from the simultaneous like stress with like your to-do list?
Yes. Like I'm like, well, because the last few weeks have been really stressful. I don't know if you saw the DC. We were calling it internally DC. It was the Demon 170
Oh yeah.
unveiling. So I dealt with the influencers that were there, and so you might think like, oh, that doesn't sound very stressful, especially because I've said I like it. It was more or less that like this is why my network I think will come in really handy, but a lot of people don't see influencers as a real job still. They just think like, oh, we'll give them $1,500, they'll be fine. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, some of these people are worth thousands,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars. We can't offer them $1,500. And so we had a lot of people back out last minute. And me being on the influencer side, I see that they, we're not paying them enough. We're not doing enough for them. So like the client's getting mad. They're like, why are all these people backing out? And I'm like, because you're treating them like this isn't a real thing. So it was like finding influencers last minute and trying to get people to fly out and contracts and this. And it was stressful because everything else around it was stressful. Like we planned, I don't know if you know this, but Motor Trend does do events. We white labeled that event. So we were the reason why the helicopter came in. We set up all of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was on all of those calls. I was on all of those things, figuring out like that the car was almost too heavy for the helicopter, and the pilot couldn't make it on time. Like all those kind of like crazy things. So it's like I got to see my part was this stressful, but everything around was just a big deal.
Dude, that's so cool. So, okay, so to go back to the influencer thing, remember you said like they don't see it as a real thing. Do you remember you and like when you started to see it as a real thing? Because early on, I don't think you really thought social YouTube and all these things were like a real thing.
No, and at least not for me. Like I thought for like other people, I was like, oh yeah, that dude in blue, he's huge, or like all these people that were like already getting big. I feel like I look back now and I'm like, damn, I probably could have put the work in and like been big. But for me, like I said, like some people are known for their big social and some people are known for their big race car.
Right.
And for me, I want to be more known for my big race car. And I say it like that because there's a guy in the coyote world who's essentially carrying the coyote world on his back. He's just he's just the most badass. He's just doing things that like people haven't done before. And he has no social media, or he has like an Instagram that he posts on every once in a while, but it's not big. But then there's people who have 150,000 on an account and then nobody knows who they are. So for me, I'd rather be known who I am at the track than who I am on some social by some randos that are gonna go to the track and watch me.
That's a very good point. When we talk about industries, I was just talking to a buddy of mine who works in the film industry, and he's got a big deal with Universal, and we were talking about how the old heads don't see, not they don't see the importance, but they don't know how to attack the social like platforms, right? And people and virality and clips and all that, and it's just because they don't get it. So, do you think that like people like not necessarily Motor Trend, but other people in the automotive industry aren't getting social yet, or they still don't see exactly like their plan of attack for it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I call it the old boys club.
Okay.
And like I think the old boys club is just used to what they're used to, and the problem is they're starting to see the funnel effect of them not caring about it. So we're at the bottom of the funnel where they're like grasping and they're like these aren't people aren't buying media and these people aren't buying this and they're not supporting that. Well, yeah, it's because you're doing it the way that you did it 15 years ago and it once worked and it doesn't anymore.
So what's I mean, if you had kind of like the magic ball, or you had the Harry Potter, I don't know if I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but if you had the magic wand and you could start implementing something that you want to right now, what would it be?
At Motor Trend, or
I
just
mean,
for my life?
in maybe like just in your automotive life.
I think for me, if I could wave a wand, I would say that I need to not. It's like not that I don't care, but I get in like a paralysis and I need to like shake that from my mind that like, all my videos will do really, really well. Like on TikTok, all my stuff does insanely well. Like I get very, very good views for how big for my size. And then all of a sudden I'll have a week of videos that only get 4,000 views. And then I'm like, well, screw that. I'm done. I don't want to post anymore. And like, if there was something I could change about myself, it would be the mental aspect of it. Just post. Who cares? But I care. Why do I care? I don't know. And then it's that circle of like, just post. I can't. I care. Oh my God, my stuff does bad. Don't post. Don't care.
You mentioned therapy earlier, and that you attribute a lot of your self-development improvements to that. And that's great of you to say, because a lot of people won't say that they go to therapy, or that they've been, or that it even helped them. And I know there's a lot of contradicting conversations that people will have about it's nonsense, or it's this, or it's that, or it's all in your head. So regardless of all that noise, like what got you, I don't know how long you've been going to it, but like what was the trigger for you to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and seek some help to help me through some of these murky waters?
So I had really bad depression. I knew it. I realized it and I said, I'm done. Like I don't want to live like this anymore. It was really bad and I started taking meds for it. I really didn't want to and I was like what's going to outlive the meds is what's causing the depression, you know? Like I was like maybe I'll go on it for a little bit just to try to get it in shape and then I'm done. So I talked to my therapist, I would say for 2.5 years straight, and then now her and I are on like an as need basis. I actually did just call her to start going again. More not because I feel like there's a problem, but more to learn the ins and outs, like the stress, how to manage that, how to manage. I feel like I pick poor people in my life. Like I look and I'm like, why are all my girlfriends mean to me? Or like, why did none of my girlfriends, you know what I mean? And that's me. That's not them. That's me. That's one, I'm either reflecting, like I'm deflecting, like I must be shitty, one, or two, that means that I gravitate toward a certain kind of person.
That's really, but I mean, I guess I don't know how long it took you to realize that, but that's a good thing to have come to that conclusion. You know what I mean? Because then you can course correct ideally and avoid those people. Like but honestly, you might get depressed again because you're like, I have a circle of none or one, like your husband and a pet and your car. And you're like, is this enough? And you might actually realize that might be enough.
That might be enough. Yeah, as you get older too, I feel like that's a very common thing that I see. Like people post on Facebook, and I mean, I feel like we just get so skewed. I don't know about, I guess, what can't say we, but like it's like skewed. Like in high school, I know with me, like you see the dance team, the cheerleaders, and you see all these people, and you see these huge groups, and like you think like I need 100 friends. I'm not cool unless I have 100 friends, and then as you get older, you're like, I've had friends. I've, you know, like now I look at it and I collect a new person every once in a while, like, you know, get drinks every once in a while or go to the track or something like that. But typically I just have my like standard group of like 2 or 3 people and then that's it. And we see people, you know, when we go racing, it's the person like, oh my God, I miss you, I haven't seen you. But I'm not glad, but I guess I'm glad that I only see them sometimes. Because sometimes I feel like having friends is just the working on the relationships is a lot of time. So like if I only talk to somebody a couple times a year, it's really not, and we're cool, like we can pick up anytime, like kind of like this, I'm
Right.
fine with that.
A
Because
hundred percent.
I feel like you have to like, for me, I put in the effort where we like chit chat every day for like a while and then it like kind of breaks off. And then in like, you know, 3 months, it's like, hey, you want to get coffee? I haven't heard from you in a while. Yep, I'm good. I'll be there.
You're absolutely right. And you know, like when you get older too, and you're married, and I wanted to actually go back to real quick, like the therapy thing. I also saw that you were making improvements in like the things that, so as a human, so the title of the podcast is, you know, how to human. And a lot of us learn how to human very slowly, as you've probably noticed. Like some people just don't get it. Like it doesn't click for them, right? But then whatever
Mm-hmm.
happens, either you get therapy or you start figuring it out, or life just kind of hits you to a point where you start going to the gym more, you start taking care of your body and your mind more, and everything around you then starts to make sense, and then you get a better job. So health, wealth, and relationships are those big buckets for every human, essentially, right? And as I've we haven't chatted in a while, but as I follow you, I have noticed that, and you're telling me now, like the therapy, right? Health, wealth. You know, I've seen you going to the gym, putting in that, you know, making them gains, and then now
Yeah.
the money from Motor Trend and your other opportunities, health, wealth, relationships. Your marriage seems to be going well. Obviously, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't know if you beat Brian or what happens, but all in all, like you seem to be filling those buckets like you need to in order for everything to work.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I just had a conversation. There's these girls at they are automotive engineers, and a friend of mine said that they were looking for a mentor. So he contacted me. And so these girls stay in touch with me through their year. And they were presenting to me what their final project is. And they didn't tell me about it at all. And so they told me about it a couple days ago and they asked for my advice. And I literally was like, this is so good that I was very impressed with what they were doing. But two, I was like, what advice are you guys getting? Like now that you're almost done with school, and they were like, yeah, everyone keeps telling us that like it's really terrible. And I told them, I was like, I hate that people say that to them because in my experience, it, you don't realize for me, like, I don't know. I guess for me, I didn't realize it was terrible until after, I guess. And I tried to tell him, I was like, look at it as a journey. Like, I know that's the tackiest saying in the world, like, it's a journey, but it really is, because every day is different. You can turn every day around. Like, when I was 25, I had the longest life crisis or quarter life crisis ever. Like, I thought Brian was gonna break up with me. We were only together like a few months, and I was like, "Wow, I am a walking red flag." Did I think I was a walking red flag then? No, but I know I am now. I'm like, applaud that man. I'm like, okay, I need to order him a gift or something. Like, it's, and I tried to explain to them. I was like, it gradually gets better. I was like, if anything, you're in your worst part now. And they were like, why do you say that? And I was like, because getting out of college, something you're used to a format of school for so long when you're 22, 23, that when you're like, you know, you're 24, 25, and you're like, what do I do? Now I have to go to work. Like, you have to change the format. You have to change the mindset. I was like, if anything, it's only going to get better. I was like, you guys have degrees. Or you're going to have degrees. You have awesome ideas. You already have jobs of people that you're working with. Like, I was like, it's only, you can only set yourself up for greatness. At least I think so.
No, I like that attitude. And it's kind of like just the idea of having somebody say, like, these people need a mentor, and I think you'd make a great mentor is like, what a compliment that is, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, like, I'm emotional, you know that. Like, I don't want to cry, but there's so many little things, like, when I'm feeling down, like, there's a day I'll come home from work and I'm like, God, I'm so useless. I could be doing this and this and this and this and this, but I'm laying on the couch instead. And then the next morning I get a message from trying to connect with forever, and I'm like, okay, someone's looking out. I don't know if you're into religion or just the universe or how things works, but to me, it's like every once in a while, the universe or God gives you that sign that you need.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have a lot of serendipitous things happen, and I'm like, I don't know who or what to attribute it to, but I'm glad that I'm keeping an eye out for it. Because if you're not aware of, just like if you're not present, I guess, and that's also a super tacky thing to say these days. Like, I've been hearing it forever, over a decade. Like, be present, be in the moment. But that really does influence a lot of the opportunities you have, because if you're not aware, you're not present, they're going to pass you up, and you're just going to keep going and being depressed or sad or whatever. And also, it sounds like you really value leadership. My wife she's Miss Corporate, and it's totally different from my life. But she's also gotten into new roles with her career, where she's in a big leadership role. And I think that it sounds like you're getting into that place where you could nurture like the future of maybe, let's say, Motor Trend or whatever, when it comes to how to kind of deal with some of these hurdles that you're going to inevitably go through.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Since I met Brian, I always joked and I said I want to be a madam. he, he was like, I was like, I want to mentor women, and he was like, a madam's probably not the word for that. He was like, you'll figure it out. And this was like when we first met, 23, 24. And then a couple weeks ago, me dealing with the influence, he goes, you're kind of where you wanted to be, but just not in the wording that he said. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, look at it. You're working with influencers and you're giving advice to your friends always on how to make their social medias better. And I was
It's
like,
true.
He was like, I was like, it's weird. I never looked at it like that. He was like, but that's kind of what you're doing.
And it's weird because like you just said, you could be doing exactly what you set out to do a decade ago or 7, 8 years ago. And it's because there's so much going on that you just can't be in the present. Like, you can't be self-aware because there's so much going on. And it takes just one person being like, hey, you're like, and it's almost like the universe again winking at you, like, you're where you're supposed to be,
We
right?
got you.
We
Yeah.
got ya.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle, gotcha, bitch.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It is weird. Like, when everyone always says like, oh, this was the best time of my life, I'm like, well, why don't you continue to make the rest of it the best time?
Yeah, a lot of people are like in high school forever. They're like Al Bundy, scored 4 touchdowns as a senior.
Screw that.
Okay, so
I just can't imagine thinking that being 17 was like the best time of your
yeah,
life.
no,
I loved my high school and I liked my high school experience. Like, I had good friends, I had a boyfriend, we did everything. I just can't, I got 13 years on that, and that's going to be the best time of my life. Hell no.
yeah, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I was like runner-up prom king. Like, it was fun, right? It was like a small town, but how is that going to be the best time ever? And it's so funny because you look back, to freshman year, roughly for you, it was like 15 years ago or so. And for me,
Mhm.
it's like, damn, it's a little bit more than that. I'm 33. That's crazy. I can't believe we're in our early 30s, right?
I
But
know.
it seems like an eternity ago, but really it's not. And like if you have nieces or nephews or whatever, and they're kind of coming into those ages, they really do think that everything that happens is the end of the world. And you just kind of want to shake them like ever so gently and be like, dude, like relax. Like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny that you bring up kids because both my sisters have kids now. So one of them's going to be 6, one of them's going to be 4, and the other one's really little. But the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old, what's interesting about kids is the way that they say things. They're so blunt and they're so honest, and we love them for that. And
Mhm.
then as an adult, as we get older, as we're adults and stuff, people are like, you're pretty abrasive, or, oh, you just tell it too much like it is. And I'm thinking to myself, because there's like an argument in my family right now, like everybody's mad at my grandma. I was talking to my therapist about it, and she goes, maybe she just, they don't want to hear. And I've always been like that. Like I've had jobs, the manager sat me aside and was like, you're just hard to deal with. You're hard to handle. And I'm like, so because I'm saying the truth, they would agree. Yes, you are saying the truth, but no one wants to hear it. That made me hard to deal with.
I
But
feel
as
like
a
it's
kid,
just
it's adorable.
no, exactly. And I think listening and comprehension skills for those people are what it's lacking. Like you can't have, I don't need to regress in my communication styles or my approach just because you can't keep up. It's not my fault you're 40 and you can't keep up with me because I'm aggressive or whatever they say. Like that's just
Right.
some weak shit, weak sauce stuff. And I grew up, I understand, I say this all the time, but I grew up in Texas, freedom, fucking, patriotism. And it's true, small town USA. And it's not ingrained in me like that. So when I see somebody who can't handle whether it's a joke or just my approach to something, that's not on me. That is on you. That's for you to figure out. That's not for me to. I'm not sorry I made you feel bad. It's just you got to
Right.
fucking. What do they say? Is it politically okay to say man up? Right? What do you say? Cowgirl up? Maybe. Like
Grow a pair.
there you go. Joe knows what's up.
Yeah, grow a pair. I don't know, and that's why I think that I've like slimlined my friends a little bit in the because of those reasons. Like I'm in a group chat, and sometimes I wonder. I'm like, I don't agree with that, but do I reply because otherwise I'm gonna look like the weirdo? Or sometimes they'll talk about something, and I'm like, I don't have anything to add. You know,
They
I
just
don't
don't
know.
say
I guess.
anything.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like everybody says, like as you get older, you just care less and you just, your circle gets tighter, which I'm fine with.
100%. So in that same vein, when we talk about like our circles and we were talking about, what you would do for the rest of your life and obviously the race cars, do you have any entrepreneurial endeavors outside of your day-to-day job that tries to fuel any of this?
Yeah, so Brian and I are working on some small stuff right now that we're hoping to get. It's very niche, like it's very niche race car-y. But there's small things that I think will help racers and what they're looking for. And then we also started wrapping license plates. So
Ooh,
Brian, yeah, so Brian um saw someone do it on TikTok, and he was like, I can do that. And he just does them on the side. He charges like 75 bucks for them now. So they're just like a tiny little side job because we have a plotter. So like he just literally scans it, plots the letters and cuts them, and it takes him an hour to do it. So
wow.
they're kind of cool.
Funny
So
enough,
like,
and maybe no, go ahead, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I
I was
want to
gonna.
hear more
Well, he
about it.
did.
It's cool.
He did mine to start with. So like, obviously, because my cars are wrapped, like he did it black, and then all the letters are teal.
So I'm going to say this on the podcast, so I'll remember to bring it up later to you. I'll text you or something. But like, I have I work with partnership with a pretty big graphics company. So if there's
Hmm.
anything you guys want to do or whatever, like just keep that in mind. So maybe we can have a chat off the podcast about something, some kind of collab.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Ask him if they can get me a roll of vinyl. Just
Dude,
kidding.
tell me what you need. We'll work something out.
I really want to wrap the truck to match the Mustang, but I feel like the truck is my daily, so I don't know if I really want a bright daily like that.
The F-250?
Yeah, this is Brian's car, so Brian's out of town for work right now, so I've been driving it. I
Oh, so
also love it. I've been trying to steal it from him. He likes it. He likes driving it a lot, but I love it.
Okay, so for those that don't understand it, can you put it into words? Because I don't feel like I ever put it into words well when people ask, like, why do you like driving that Focus so much? I kept it. I got it. Brent, I saw that you had the sunroof earlier. Thank you for closing that because the sun was shining into the camera.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You turned it like immediately went to the camera. But I had one. I opted it with no sunroof, no Recaros. I just wanted that EcoBoost motor and the 6-speed. That's it. So I didn't have the cool seats. I didn't have the sunroof. I didn't even have the good headlights. But the car itself was so fun to drive.
That's what I tell everybody too. Like coming from being a straight line person my entire life, this is so different. Like, we've had a couple other like handling cars. Um, I don't know if you'd call a G8. We've had two G8s. We had a Jetta. We had a GTI. Trying to think what else we've had it for dailies, but this is just so fun to drive, and you can take a couple people with you. It's a stick. We bought this used in November. It's an ST3. It had like 70,000 miles on it, and we got it for 15 grand. It's an 18.
Damn, that's a
We,
really good
we,
deal.
we stole this thing. But then Brian got in a car accident and got hit, so it was in the body shop for 2 weeks or 2 months. So I still love it though. Like it drives great. It does have a couple. It was owned by a 20-year-old, so it's straight piped and it backfires and farts and pops. So it needs a tune. Like we just haven't. One of my coworkers was in town and he was like, "Oh, you still haven't tuned the Focus?" I was like, "I got so many other things that the Focus is the last on my list."
You don't have an access port in there?
Like a cat bag.
No, the Cobb access port that you can
Oh
plug in.
yeah, the cord broke, so I'm having my dad retune it. Because it's
Okay.
horrible. This is like the 12-year-old tune. Like I'm telling you, it's like
That sounds
it's
like every boy's
horrible.
dream.
Oh no, no, no. I'm like, we're too old for this. So I literally just changed the spark plugs last weekend and they were disgusting. Like those spark plugs were the stock ones.
It's so funny because you're like, we're too old for this. Meanwhile, you have an 8-second race car. You literally have every boy's dream, the loud fart can kind of like ricer, and then like a track car.
And a truck.
And a truck. Jesus.
Yeah, well that's what happens when you don't have kids. You can buy whatever you want.
Oh God, don't tell me about it. I got 8-year-old twins, and I'm getting ready to go to baseball and softball practice after this, and I'm like, huh, what could we have done in another life? Just kidding. I love the kids more than anything. But speaking of actually, and let me get your opinion on this while I have you for another 5 or 10 minutes. The Broncos. My wife really wants to upgrade to a Bronco. What are your feelings about it? Let me know what you think. It has to be automatic. I know they're not all automatic.
She wants a full-size Bronco though, right?
Well,
Not a
yeah,
sport.
of course, of course.
Okay. Okay. Just
We're
want to
not getting
check.
a mini. We're not getting an Escape Junior. Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Actually, it's funny you asked that. My mom just got one.
Ooh.
Yeah, so my mom, the deal, she had an Explorer, just not an ST, just an Explorer, and her lease was coming up in like August or sometime this summer. And the dealership called her and was like, "Hey, we have an exclusive invite right now. If you come to the dealership like tomorrow, we can try to get you out of your current lease into something else for the same price." And it's usually bullshit. But we know the manager. So we were like, I was like, "Mom, it might be legit. Like we know him. We buy a lot of cars from him." I was like, "Just go." I was like, "What's a day of going 45 minutes away?" So she takes my brother because my brother ordered a Maverick in September and it still hasn't come in yet. And so she was like, "Well, maybe there'll be a Maverick and we can drive it just so you can see if you like love it." So she's sitting in a couple cars in the showroom and she's like, "I'm not really whatever." And so the manager walks by and goes, "I have a Bronco in the back that was a weird order that they didn't end up buying. I think you might be interested in it." And she's like, "What color is it?" And he was like, "It's white with a black hardtop." And she goes, "Bring it around." So he brings it around and she just drives it. And it's very weirdly optioned. So it's like a total base, but it has a hardtop and it has the Sasquatch package. So it's got the 30, I think it's 35s or 37s. It's got the bead locks, like whatever. The appearance wise is really cool, but it's very basic on the inside. And she already loves. She's obsessed. She's like, "Okay, well, when the lease is up, we're gonna buy a higher end one." And she already took the top. She's had it for a month. She took the top off yesterday.
Dude, that's so cool. Like
She's
everybody, she's obsessed.
obsessed. And she's very like, my mom is fun, but she's like, she can be crude. So the fact that she bought something that she can like take the top off of, I'm like, good to go.
She's getting younger, man. So does she still have the Fox body, or is that just a dumb question?
Nope, they still have it.
That's
They still
awesome.
have it. So what's funny about the Fox 2 is this year must be like the remembrance of the Fox Body year because so many people have been asking us to bring it to stuff. They're like, well, we're doing Fox Body whatever at headquarters, and we're doing Fox Body this at this race. Can you bring it? And I'm like, I gotta ask my dad. So I basically been like his manager. I'm like, put this in your calendar. I already got the hotel. Put this in your calendar. So and so wants you at this because he's not a car show guy. Like my dad is a race car driver. He doesn't like to go to shows. He doesn't like to walk around. He will like once a year. So I was like, hey, let me stroke your ego. A car. Can you go? And then he'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, we could do that. But he's been building a race car and he's got his GT500. So he actually took the yellow car out last year and did it 830. But he doesn't sound that impressive, but it's literally bone stock looking.
What did he run?
830.
Wow, damn. That's really cool. And that car looks like it just came out of a Hot Wheels
But
box.
but like I said, yeah, I'm telling you, like it was next to my friend's Fox Body, which is a Southern Fox Body, which is very clean, and like the two of them next to each other made hers look like a clapped out piece of shit. But
Wait, real
normally
quick.
is like beautiful.
To go back to your mom's Bronco, so I know a bunch of Jeep enthusiasts, and don't get me wrong, like Jeeps are cool, but is it? And I don't know if you have any experience with the Jeeps, but like, is the ride just as bad in the Jeep? You know, in comparison, like I hear the Bronco is so much smoother, it's so much better, it's so more versatile. Like it's just a better package altogether than like a similarly equipped Wrangler or Gladiator.
Sorry, there was a bug on the window.
I was gonna say, what the hell is that, a
So
spider?
I used to work. No, yeah, I was like, oh, get away from me. So I do have a little bit of experience with Jeep, not as much. But it does drive really nice. It is still a little bit loud, but I don't know if it's the 35s or if it's the 37s, but the tires are a little bit loud. But I mean, if someone was to complain, I hope my mom's not listening. If someone or will listen, but if someone were to be a complainer, it would be my mom. And so for her to not complain about it means it's good to go. It does drive really nice. Like our roads here are horrible, so it's very good to test on our roads that it drives very nicely.
That's true. That's a very good point. All right, so I just got to find one. They're kind of hard to find. Like there's, I forgot which ones, like the first edition and like the Outer Banks maybe are the only automatic transmission, I believe.
Um, I think hers is a Sasquatch, so that's auto. Hers auto.
I guess they opt. I guess you can option it, but I guess from factory the other ones. But yeah, that makes sense. That's
Okay.
cool.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to get eventually, like when everything started to be paid off and like the hype of them have died a little bit, I want to get a two-door manual one as my daily.
yeah. They don't look as cool as the four. I mean, I don't know. I guess they haven't grown on me that much.
Oh, I think they're so cool. Maybe it's because I see a lot of lifted ones around here. It's Detroit. We see the new stuff like immediately.
That's true. Well, so you mentioned the Maverick earlier. Your brother ordered one, but hasn't gotten one. You said.
Hasn't come in yet. Yeah, he's been
I've
waiting a
heard they're
while
like
for it.
yeah, like months, if not a year, for a lot of people are still getting their like 2020. Like they're taking orders for 24s in September, and people still haven't gotten their 22s yet.
Yep. Yep. So his will be a 22. It's his first car, so he's like he doesn't know what it's like to have a car anyway, so he's just been patiently waiting.
That's awesome. I'm actually seeing more and more of them. Like, I don't know what you think of them personally, but like, I think they're cool. I think they're just very practical. It's almost like having a bigger hatchback. You know what I mean? Like, I love wagons and hatchbacks.
Yeah, they are an interesting look. I think the styling of the front end is really good, but the only thing I don't like is where like the back window meets the bed. I think that's like a very awkward line. But otherwise, for like what they are, they're fantastic. Like we have one at Motor Trend that I was looking at that they're doing reviews and stuff on. So I've driven them before. I think they're cool. I mean, as a daily, if you need to move like little stuff, then they're perfect.
There's one, I'll have to send it to you. They made it like into a little, it looks like a race truck. They put like what looks like 1552s on it, wheels, and then put
Yes,
the duck spoiler on the back that connects oh my God, it looks so
I've seen
good.
it. I know. That's why when those first came out, Brian's like, the mini truck era's back. He's so
Yes, that's
excited
all I
for that.
said.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. That's
awesome.
why we're pumped for it. And like, we're going on a family trip the beginning of May. So a couple weeks. And I'm like, please let Enzo's truck come in so we can take it.
Nice. So before I let you go, to go back to I'd asked you about like entrepreneurial endeavors and what could fund the race cars and all the future race cars. And you mentioned the graphics plates, but is there anything else that you or maybe you two together are working on or want to work on?
Yeah, we are. I want to keep it. This is something that we may need a patent for, so we are trying to keep it a little bit low key. We're working on it. I don't know if we'll go the patent route just because I've seen other people do it, but I think that our idea is just a little bit stronger for it. But we'll definitely do NDA. And like I said, it's very race car niche. So I don't know, is it worth getting a $5,000 patent for it for something that we may only sell 5,000 of them, something not very big.
Yeah.
We're hoping that a big like race car supply company will buy the idea from us.
All right.
Who knows? Anything that brings in a little extra income so we don't have to think about it, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. So speaking of graphics, like I mentioned earlier, do you want to wrap I'm on your YouTube channel and the car looks so good and you've had it that color for so long, but would you want to wrap it anything else or is it staying that color?
It'll probably stay that color. If anything, I would love to take the wrap off just to see what everything looks like with the silver, like those new wheels, that hood, that splitter, like everything, like just how it looks like collectively. But no, that car will probably stay teal because Brian's car is finally done. So then it finally like makes sense to why they look the same. Like
Yeah.
we have 2 photos of them together and they're not like nice. So I feel like I still need another year or 2 of just getting pictures together before I even attempt to change it.
And what do you want to wrap the truck?
Teal.
Oh, that's right. Oh, geez, come on, man. You're
Yeah.
gonna wrap everything the same color?
Yeah, I thought it would be kind of cool because we have a 2-car trailer. So it would be the truck, the 2 cars that all look the same.
That is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. What about the Focus?
This is Brian's car. If anything, if I were to wrap this car, I would wrap it something that, doesn't have like a shimmer in it, like something that's not a gloss, or it would still be gloss, but it would be not pearl. And I would want to do like a Miami blue or something. So something in the family, but like not teal.
I love Porsche's Mexico Blue.
Yeah. Yeah,
There we
BMW has a really good blue too. I can't remember the name. It's a little bit darker. We always call that one mature teal.
That's funny. All right. So before we go out, I like asking this question at the end of the podcast. Is there anything that you're currently absolutely obsessed with?
Whoo, working out.
Really?
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. I started working out about 2 years ago, and dealing with being a woman and having lovely hormones and whatnot. It's been a journey. It's been a journey the 2 years, but I have been very dedicated to just something for me.
That's awesome. Well,
Thank
I hope
you.
that you stay on that path. Is Brian going with you or is it your own thing?
It's been kind of my own thing. I know he wants to. His brother's getting married in July, so I know he'd like to slim down because his family is very rude. Like he is the kind of family that'll be like, "Oh yeah, man, it's getting tough to put my arms around you to hug you," and I'm like, "I hate you."
Did they ever do that to you?
Oh, they know I would kill them. I don't play, especially
No,
not with his family.
that's pre-therapy, Joe. You can't say that these days. You've worked through it.
Yeah, I've worked through it. Yes, I have. I would tell them to eat a dick and I would leave.
Boy, do I miss these conversations. All right, dude. Where can everybody follow you? And do you have any big, any kind of media releases that are coming up in the near future?
I wouldn't say. Actually, I might. I'm not gonna say. I'll have to update you. So, because the interview is supposed to happen tomorrow.
Mm,
Um, it's come up in this conversation, some of it.
okay.
So
Okay.
you might be able to put 2 and 2 together of
All
who I'm
right.
talking to. But I will text you after and let you know how the interview goes because I don't ever like to jump the gun. I always like
So
that saying. Okay, here's another thing I'm obsessed with. It's the saying that says "move in silence."
love it. Absolutely, dude. I 100% agree.
Because I'm just very big when it comes to jinxing and oh my god, what if I tell too many people and I'm excited and then it doesn't happen. So that's kind of where I'm at with that too.
All right.
But
I
yeah,
love it.
that 1320 chick, TikTok, it's all the same. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, that 1320 chick.
All right, I'll have it all in the show notes. And again, man, thank you for having this hour with me. And it's like everyone's so busy, and I love to hear it. But people are like, oh, I feel bad I had to reschedule. It's okay. Like, I'm gonna have other people on. Like, I think we scheduled twice. Last time was my fault. Today we literally scheduled twice in one day because you were so busy. But again, what do? Like, you got to roll with the punches.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Not everybody's like that. Not
Hell yeah.
everybody thinks like that.
I will shoot you an email when this episode is live, and then we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
See ya. Have a good one.
Bye.